On the 23rd of February, 2022, at approximately 3:25 a.m., was a cold, silent night in Green Bay, Wisconsin. The kind that felt like nothing could ever go wrong. But at exactly 3:25 a.m., the Green Bay Dispatch Center received a 911 call that shattered that illusion. The caller, a man named Steve Hendris, spoke in a tone laced with disbelief and fear. "My girl, she says she found her son's head in a bucket." Silence follows. Then an operator cautiously replied, "Wait, what exactly did she say she found?" Steve stammered, struggling to form the words. "She said she found Shad's head in a bucket in the basement." This wasn't a prank. The woman in question was Tara, the mother of 24-year-old Shad Thyrion. She had woken up in the early hours, gone downstairs into the basement, and stumbled upon something out of a nightmare. There, tucked beneath a shower towel, sat a green plastic bucket. Inside it, her son's severed head. His lifeless eyes stared upward, resting next to a Jolly Rancher candy and his mutilated genitals. Steve didn't believe her at first. Who would? He went downstairs himself, flashlight trembling in hand. At first, he couldn't make sense of what he saw. A towel, a bucket, hair, like an animal's maybe. But then he knew. He knew. They called the police, who arrived swiftly. One officer approached the bucket, lifted the towel, and froze. There it was. Human. Real. A decapitated head. As dawn approached, word of the discovery began spreading like wildfire. Not just another crime in a small town. This was something deeper. Something darker. The victim was quickly identified as Shad Thyrion. His last known companion? His ex-girlfriend, 25-year-old Taylor Shabbus. No one could predict what would come next, what Taylor had done, and more disturbingly, what she had to say about it. Tara Thyrion had no idea she was about to walk into a horror scene. She descended the creaky stairs into her basement, searching for her son, Shad. What she found instead changed her life forever. There, sitting quietly in the shadowy corner, was a green bucket with a towel over it. Curious, maybe a little fearful, Tara pulled the towel back. Her scream shattered the silence. Inside the bucket was her son's severed head, eyes open, mouth parted, as if still trying to speak. Tara stumbled back, her legs collapsing beneath her. She ran upstairs and screamed for Steve, her boyfriend. "Shad, his head is in a bucket." Steve thought she was hallucinating. "No way. That's not real," he said as he cautiously followed her back down. But when he saw it for himself, a chilling realization hit. This wasn't a joke. This wasn't a breakdown. This was real. They called 911. Police arrived minutes later. What they saw was something straight out of a nightmare. The bucket contained Shad's decapitated head, a Jolly Rancher candy placed grotesquely beside it, and part of his severed anatomy. Nothing in Green Bay ever prepared officers for something like this. A crime this brutal hadn't happened in the quiet Wisconsin town for as long as anyone could remember. It wasn't just murder, it was a desecration, and one name was on everyone's mind. Taylor Shabbus wasn't a stranger to trouble. Locals knew her as impulsive, erratic, and often volatile. She had a long history of drug use, toxic relationships, and unpredictable behavior. But no one could have guessed she was capable of this. At just 25, Taylor had already been in and out of legal trouble. She was once romantically involved with Shad, but their relationship had ended. Still, they occasionally met, especially when drugs were involved. Shad was known to be kind-hearted, sometimes too trusting, and on the night of his murder, he let Taylor into his home. Taylor had a chaotic past. She had connections to gangs, notably the Latin Kings, and harbored a deep hatred for a rival group known as the Satan's Disciples. But Taylor was also fascinated by darkness. Her browser history was filled with searches about serial killers, especially Jeffrey Dahmer, who had once lived just 100 miles away in Milwaukee. She had even posed in a photo with Dahmer's image on her phone, smiling as if he were a celebrity. After her arrest, more disturbing details began to emerge. Not just about what she did, but how she acted during her trial, flipping off the judge, miming finger guns at her attorneys, even physically attacking them in court. This was no ordinary killer. And the story she later told both in court and in recorded phone interviews would leave everyone speechless. Later that morning, police tracked Taylor Shabb business to an apartment across Green Bay. They found her casually hanging out with her roommate, as if nothing had happened. When officers approached, guns drawn, she didn't run. She didn't fight. She laughed. Body cam footage shows Taylor grinning as she greeted police. "Hey," she said coolly, as if they were old friends. When officers told her Shad's remains had been discovered, she didn't deny it. "Yeah, that was me," she said casually. "The rest of him's in the basement." Investigators were stunned. She confessed without hesitation, showing zero remorse. During the car ride to the station, she rambled about the murder like it was a story she was proud of. "You'll have fun looking for the organs," she said. "I left them around. House, van, basement. Have fun." Inside the home, officers made one gruesome discovery after another. In the basement, wrapped in garbage bags, lay Shad's torso. His limbs were scattered in various boxes. Organs were stuffed into plastic bags and stacked in corners. On the first floor, a black bag sat near the front door. Inside his legs, outside in a borrowed minivan, police found what they believed was a foot. The house was a grotesque maze of body parts, blood, and chaos. Taylor had used a bread knife and other dull kitchen utensils to mutilate Shad's body. The blood trail stretched from the basement to the upstairs bathroom, where she washed off between cuts. Every officer who walked through that house would carry those images for the rest of their lives. Once at the police station, Taylor didn't ask for a lawyer. Instead, she launched into a shockingly detailed confession. "We were messing around," she began. "It started as sex, but then I grabbed the chain." She claimed Shad enjoyed strangulation during sex, but this time she didn't stop. Even after his face turned purple, even after blood poured from his mouth, even after his heartbeat slowed, "I put my ear to his chest," she said, "still beating. So I got the knife." Her words were cold, detached. She admitted to decapitating him while performing oral sex. Then she cut off other body parts, seemingly for no reason other than spite. "I got lazy," she said, laughing. "Didn't even finish cleaning up." Taylor offered multiple reasons for the killing. None of them made sense. In one version, she claimed it was over a drug deal. She'd given Shad $100 for a $50 bag and wanted her change. When he didn't return the money, she said, "I took him out." In another story, it was gang rivalry. Taylor, a self-proclaimed Latin king, claimed Shad was associated with Satan's disciples, a betrayal in her world. And then there was a darker layer: obsession with serial killers, especially Jeffrey Dahmer. Her fascination wasn't casual. She studied him, idolized him. Was it revenge, ritual, fantasy? Even Taylor couldn't keep her story straight. In the months following her arrest, Taylor granted exclusive phone interviews. The calls were bizarre. She read a poem detailing the murder, describing her actions in haunting verse. She laughed, joked, and even flirted during the conversations. Her tone swung between playful and chilling. "I ain't no Dahmer," she insisted. "I only killed one person." But she talked about murder casually, as if it were a prank gone wrong. She bragged about cutting Shad up, about hiding the pieces, about getting lazy. The world was horrified. And yet, she seemed proud. The comparisons to Jeffrey Dahmer were unavoidable. Both were from Wisconsin. Both dismembered victims. Both kept body parts around their homes. Both showed little remorse. Taylor even had Dahmer in her phone, his photo saved, his interviews studied, his crimes researched. At her trial, prosecutors showed evidence of her Google searches: Jeffrey Dahmer crime scene, flaming pentagram, necrophilia photos. She claimed her niece had been watching Dahmer documentaries. But few believed that. A haunting photo showed Taylor smiling next to a screen with Dahmer's face on it. "That's just a joke," she claimed. "People said I looked like I was dating him." To the jury, it wasn't funny. Taylor's behavior in court only made things worse. During hearings, she pointed finger guns at the judge. She mouthed profanity. She flipped off the courtroom camera. In one instance, she attacked her own lawyer, leaping over the table and punching him mid-session. She later claimed he kept sticking his tongue out, and called her stupid. The judge ordered she wear a spit hood. She continued cursing through it. Taylor's father showed up at one hearing. She claimed his presence triggered her. "I knew it was go time," she said. "So I went in." She wasn't acting like someone facing life in prison. She was putting on a show. Investigators pieced together the events of that night. Taylor and Shad met up late on the 22nd of February to smoke meth. They headed to his mother's house. Down in the basement, they began foreplay. Shad allowed her to choke him, a practice they'd explored before. But Taylor crossed the line. She wrapped a chain around his neck and kept squeezing. As his lips turned blue, she didn't stop. She smiled. Later, she claimed she laid down beside him, put her ear to his chest, realized he was still alive. That's when she went for the knife. Taylor didn't bring weapons. She used what she found in the house. Kitchen knives. A bread knife. Dull blades that tore rather than cut. She began with the neck, sawing through bone and tendon. Blood soaked the sheets and spilled onto the basement floor. Still high, she worked methodically. The head came off first, then the penis, then limbs, organs. She rinsed some blood into the basement drain, stuffed parts into boxes and bags, hid them in corners, and when she got tired, she stopped. "I was lazy," she later repeated, "too messy." As police scoured the house, they extended their search to the driveway. There, parked quietly, was a borrowed minivan. Inside, they found more horrors. Bloodstains marked the floor. In a storage bin sat what appeared to be a foot. Another bag contained shredded clothing soaked in bodily fluids. It was clear Taylor had begun transporting body parts, but got tired or distracted. "I was going to bring it all," she later admitted in interviews. "Then I was like, nah, too much, too messy." The van, once used for grocery runs, had become a traveling graveyard. In interviews, Taylor portrayed herself as misunderstood. She spoke in riddles, half-sentences, and gang slang. Her stories changed constantly. One day, it was over a stolen $50. The next, about gang codes. Sometimes it was about betrayal. Other times, just being high. She called herself a Latin queen. Said Shad was SD. "We don't do business with disciples," she said. But her stories never added up. What was clear? She had lost touch with reality. Whether from drugs, trauma, or untreated mental illness, Taylor's world was one of chaos, paranoia, and violence. She lived in it proudly. Family and friends later shared that Taylor's decline wasn't sudden. From a young age, she had behavioral issues. As a teen, she bounced between homes, often running away. She was smart, but volatile, defiant. By her early 20s, she was deep into meth. Arrests piled up. She'd fought cops, threatened teachers, and once vandalized a church. She spoke often about death, about killers, about her love of horror. And no matter how many chances she was given, nothing stuck. Rehab, probation, therapy. She always spiraled back. Taylor wasn't born a monster, but over time, she became one. After her arrest, questions swirled about Taylor's mental health. Her court-appointed attorney requested a competency hearing. Taylor didn't take it well. "They keep saying I'm crazy," she said in a jail call. "But I'm not. I knew what I was doing. I planned it." During hearings, experts debated whether she was legally insane. Her erratic behavior in court didn't help her case. Nor did her recorded confession, where she laughed about the murder and joked about eating Shad's flesh. Ultimately, the court ruled her competent. She understood what she had done, and she would stand trial for it. The prosecution began building their case meticulously. They had no shortage of evidence: DNA, blood patterns, fingerprints, the confession. Surveillance video showed Taylor days earlier, buying drugs and bragging to others about handling business. They subpoenaed her phone records, showing searches for how to dispose of a body and how long does rigor mortis take. They also found disturbing memes she had shared, jokes about decapitation, Satan, and death. The defense, meanwhile, tried to build a case around mental illness. They argued Taylor's drug-induced psychosis made her incapable of knowing right from wrong, but the jury would have to decide. On the 24th of July, 2023, the trial of Taylor Shabbus officially began. Cameras filled the courtroom. The world watched. The prosecution didn't hold back. They opened with graphic images of Shad's remains, drawing gasps from the gallery. This was not a crime of passion, the DA said. It was a deliberate, cruel execution. The defense countered, Miss Shabbus is not a monster. She is a woman battling severe mental illness, addiction, and trauma. Taylor sat silently during opening statements. For once, she didn't grin. She didn't flip anyone off. But the chaos was far from over. As the trial progressed, jurors were shown bags containing Shad's limbs. They heard forensic pathologists explain how his body had been mutilated after death. Detectives described the crime scene, comparing it to a butcher's slaughterhouse. Audio from Taylor's police interview was played aloud. Her voice echoed, "I was gonna keep the head. It was my favorite part." Some jurors looked physically ill. Others wept. It wasn't just murder. It was humiliation, desecration. And she'd done it with a smile. One of the most damning pieces of evidence was Taylor's online activity. Prosecutors read off her recent Google searches. Jeffrey Dahmer interview full. How to decapitate clean. Does a human head blink after death? Satanic ritual blood offering. She had bookmarked crime scene photos, saved PDFs of serial killer books. She even posted to forums asking, "What's the best knife for bone?" Her defense claimed she was just curious. The jury wasn't buying it. To everyone's shock, Taylor testified in her own defense. Her tone was calm, too calm. She admitted to killing Shad. "He took my money. He betrayed me. So I did what I had to do." When asked if she regretted it, she shrugged. "Not really. He's dead. It's done." She smiled at jurors. Some flinched. It was like she was performing, not defending herself but savoring the spotlight. After 2 harrowing weeks, both sides rested. The prosecution's final words were simple. She knew. She planned. She enjoyed. They asked for the maximum sentence. The defense pleaded for mercy. She needs help, not hatred. But the damage was done. The jury had seen the bucket, heard the laughter, read the searches. They left the courtroom in silence. On the 26th of July, 2023, the jury returned. Guilty, they said, on all 3 counts. First-degree intentional homicide, mutilation of a corpse, third-degree sexual assault. Taylor showed no emotion. She mouthed something inaudible and smiled. Outside, Shad's mother collapsed into her husband's arms. Justice had been served. But no one felt peace. The judge didn't hold back. "You are a danger to society. You showed no remorse. You will never see freedom again." He sentenced Taylor Shabbus to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Wisconsin had no death penalty. This was the harshest sentence possible. Taylor smirked. "Guess I'm famous now," she said under her breath. And just like that, the most disturbing trial in Wisconsin's recent history was over. After sentencing, Taylor Shabbus was escorted out of the courtroom in shackles. The camera flashes faded, and so did the noise. She was transferred to the Taycheedah Correctional Institution, Wisconsin's only women's prison, with a maximum security wing. But the notoriety followed her inside. Other inmates whispered her name. Some feared her. Some admired her. Others wanted her gone. She had no remorse, no apologies, only pride. In a phone call weeks later, she laughed to her friend, "Can you believe I made national news?" Shad Thyrion, Shad's mother, became a different person after the trial. She stopped going to church, stopped answering calls. Her house was quiet, her soul hollowed out. She had found her son's severed head in a bucket. No mother could ever come back from that. In an interview, she whispered, "Every time I close my eyes, I see him staring up at me." Grief became her shadow. It was a wound that refused to close. "I forgave her," she once said. "But I will never forget.